Hello everyone, Drake Havoc here with another Borderlands 3 video, once again talking about my favorite new Vault Hunter, Flak the Beastmaster. Now in my last video about them, I analyzed a leak that had surfaced in regards to their skill tree, but today I want to have a bit of a smaller discussion about their action skills and how they function. Well, actually, I only want to talk about one specific skill. As you may already know, the official website lists Flak's skills as Fade Away, Rack, and Gamma Burst, with small descriptions of each. Now for the first two skills, they're fairly straightforward. Fade Away has Flak go invisible while also granting movement speed and health regen, while Rack calls in one of the titular creatures for a dive bomb attack. But what of Gamma Burst? The description of teleport Gamma Burst irradiated pets through rifts isn't exactly an intuitive one, and while it could be easy to assume that this calls in Flak's pets for combat, the recent leak shows that the pets will have their own separate command and hints that they will be constant AI allies, which means that there doesn't seem to be a need for an action skill that warps them to where you're looking. So then what does the Gamma Burst skill actually do? Well, I think we can make a couple of educated guesses with what we already know. To start, we can look at a small clip of what I believe to be the Gamma Burst skill in action, courtesy of the gameplay trailer. As you can see, the ability creates a yellow sphere, the aforementioned rift, that seems to burst with a couple novas before the pet appears, glowing yellow, with healing symbols appearing in the middle as well. Now I think that the healing aspect is actually the result of an augment rather than the base effect, but nevertheless it's clear to see how the skill functions on a technical level. The rift forms, there are some nova bursts that may or may not do actual damage, and the pet shows up with a yellow glow. Next, let's take a moment to consider that the use of the word irradiated almost certainly refers to the new radiation element being introduced in Borderlands 3, replacing the slag element from 2. That the skill is called Gamma Burst also reflects this, as gamma radiation is one of the most commonly known forms of radiation. Now as a quick refresher, let's look at what the radiation element actually does. It increases damage taken from non-radiation sources, it deals damage over time to afflicted enemies, and an enemy who dies while irradiated will explode and deal radiation damage to nearby enemies, potentially spreading the affliction. So basically, when the pet is teleported through the rift, it is either inflicted with the radiation status or, more likely, infused with the radiation element to apply rad damage to its attacks, which is what I think the yellow glow is. With this in mind, I think there are two possibilities as to what this skill could do. My first guess is that the pet summoned is actually a copy of your current pet, irradiated so that it will explode when killed or its summon duration expires, with the purpose of spreading the radiation status effect. In this way, it would be a traditional pet summoning of old, along the lines of Gage's Death Trap and Timothy's Digiclones, as a way of providing a more comfortable playstyle to fans of past pet classes. The second possibility I can think of, and the one I think is more likely, is that the teleported pet is your chosen pet, and rather than explode after a while, it merely loses the radiation properties after a time. In this form, perhaps the skill could even be used to recall your pet from death before it actually finishes recovering, allowing Flak to bring back their companion much sooner than normal, though perhaps it could also just be an augment or not happen at all. As for why I think this variation is more likely, the use of the word teleport indicates movement of the pet from one location to another, rather than calling in a clone as the word summon might suggest, and also the fact that having two pets on the field at once might be a little OP. In either case, there's also the intriguing possibility of the novas the summoning causes doing damage as well, as what appears to be two radiation novas emit from the rift when it appears in the footage. Note that there could even be a third nova, if what appears to be a healing nova is a result of an augment overriding what was originally a damaging nova for balance purposes. But either way, simply being able to create novas from a point of your choosing seems like a pretty useful skill under any circumstances, even without putting a creature there afterwards. That said, there is a chance that the novas are merely visual flair and not actually damaging, as there's a creature in the video clip that doesn't seem to take any damage from them, though it might also just have been out of range. It's hard to really say with one single clip in a much larger trailer with no HUD elements whatsoever. Ultimately, though, I think it's clear that the main purpose of this skill is to spread the radiation status effect, with the two possibilities mentioned only really changing how many pets are on the field at once and whether or not there's an explosion at the end. Hell, there might even be an augment to give the ability an explosive finish anyways, though probably without actually killing the pet, as I don't expect Flak to willingly do that. Considering this, I can already see some cool and useful applications of this skill as well, such as warping your pet directly into a mob of enemies and spreading the irradiated status around before you start picking them off from a safer distance, especially if the initial summoning also provides that nova as well, regardless of how else the skill ends up working. But anyways, I think that's everything I have to say regarding Flak's Gamma Burst, so it's about time to wrap up this video. Thank you very much for listening to my ideas on this today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and maybe even subscribing if you haven't already. And if you have your own theories on how the Gamma Burst skill might work, I would love to hear them down in the comments. Once again, thank you anyone and everyone who tuned in, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!